Now my sketch is nice and clean. It's nice and light as well. As I said, I don't have very harsh outlines. And now I'll start sketching. How I usually sketch, and this is just like my way, I start with like holding the pencil a little bit further. I don't do this at the moment, just like this, bending a little bit. And you can sharpen your pencil with like a craft knife or things like that, so that the graphite is actually a bit longer. I just use the normal sharpener, but it's good. Maybe I'll do some other video on how to sharpen pencil. I don't really use it much, but anyway, this is my 30-day challenge, so I might actually do, because it will be certainly more sketching down. So I'm gonna be looking at the directions of the petal. Yeah, so I'm not gonna be sketching like straight, for example. I'm gonna be looking at the directions of the petal. This is very important. So when you sketch, even when you paint actually, and you're doing, for example, like a fur or anything, it's necessary to go for the direction, to just looking at it might not be exactly precise, but at least like directions, and you can see that I am just using the H pencil, and it's quite soft. I'm trying to create like a kind of like a mid-tone, really. So mid-tone. Yeah, and I'm gonna be rubbing quite a lot of things out as well, so as you will see. But can you see I'm kind of like have a losing, like I'm kind of holding the pencil in a loose way and slowly, not putting so much pressure actually on the pencil at all. Yeah, here I might go actually a little bit like this, because I'm looking at the directions of the petal. Yeah, so I need to move my hands a little bit more. It's not so like straight forward. Can you see I'm still using it quite loosely? You can use charcoal also, you don't need to necessarily use pencil, but I think I'm gonna stick to pencil for this challenge. Actually, it's a good practice as well. But anyway, I'll see how it goes. But you got like options. Yeah, so, and you see now, if I want a little bit darker as well, I just start to change direction a little bit, so not necessarily doing this way, just slightly bending, like a cross hatching on some part. Can you see? And especially the bottom is kind of like a darker, so just changing the direction, still holding it loosely, but can you see it kind of starts picking the kind of like the darker area, doesn't just look like lines as well. Yeah, here we changing the direction, so it's nice to change direction. Also sometimes use this kind of rotational marks, but that will be maybe later on. I just want to show you how I kind of like start sketching. Okay, now this is, for example, now I wanted to say this is done, well, it's far from done, but I see, so I have some of the highlights, so I can actually pick up some of this like highlights with rubber and start establishing some of the highlights, just like by gently kind of pressing the rubber down or making lines. Literally, again, it's not gonna be perfect. I am not aiming for perfection. I'm just aiming for, kind of flower or like a petals looking shapes. All right, and that's it. Kind of that's my first layers. I'm working in layers. Okay, let's move, for example, to this one. All right, I'll show you this one or maybe this two, and then I'll just like carry on literally with that. So here the petals, can you see the directions go actually this way? So I'm gonna turn it. I'm gonna record in the video. This time I would be turning I can actually turn it more. I'm turning the journal so that I can have better access to. Do better drawing. I'm just like trying to think and record and talk to you and draw and at the same time, so sometimes it's a bit confusing and sometimes I stop talking as well, but I do like talking. I don't like to do over voice, so I like talking while I'm drawing, so it's a bit less editing as well. Yeah, so you can see like different direction, and also my directions are actually quite wrong because I was like tilting and it kind of felt a bit different because now it goes actually this way, but that's fine. I can still like correct it because this is just very light layers, can you see? And just by shifting the direction, everything kind of starts coming into the place. Now I am actually, what I am doing here is, with all the drawings, is looking at values. So I am paying attention that here it's darker, right? This petal is on the top, so there has to be shadow behind the petal, which there is. So I have to create that petal. I'll take this as a mid-tone, yeah, darker, dark tone, mid-tone, and the light tone, or I call it lightest tone, same thing. Light tone, mid-tone, dark tone. So I'm paying attention between these three, literally in every single petal. And once you get that right, it's gonna look realistic, it's gonna look more 3D, even though it's not precise. All right, so here I'm trying to create like a darker tone, like a darkest thing, not really darkest things, but I know I'm gonna be darkening that a little later and just changing the directions as well. All right, still keeping the pencil just like that, just kind of starting to establishing the values, you know. I'll probably jump to darker pencil like more earlier on, but I just wanted to show you in the video how I go about it. I don't want to like a sharp lines there, so it's still time to like smoothen everything up as well, you know. So it's still, so you get the idea. I can see that this is already start establishing, and I can go now if I want to make it nice. Maybe 3B or 4B. Do I have some 4B here? Maybe this is 4B. It's quite like this pencil. So I can go a little smaller or kind of like a shorter distance, not like this. A kind of smaller, smaller distance from where I hold the pencil, and I can go into the dark areas, and I'm still not pressing that hard. Everything is still quite gentle. I'm doing more circular movements this time, you know. And again, you probably have to find your own way, your own style of like really doing this sketching. I'm doing cross hatching, so moving literally from direction to direction, but still try to keep that you know, directions of the petals, so it actually looks like a flower. Because if you're gonna be doing this direction, for example, it's not gonna look like a petal, it's gonna be something off, and you will be just wondering, what the heck am I doing wrong? It doesn't look like a petal. So directions are important. But can you see I'm still using it softly, but it is easier to achieve like a darker tones with softer pencil. So this is 4B again, yeah. And yeah, starting to build it up like that. Again, highlights, can start establishing some of the highlight lines. Can you see how easy it is to start like doing the lines just with the rubber? Yeah, so I'm taking some of it, and I'm not rubbing anything actually with the hands. I'm using just the pencils, and I'm not so much keen on rubbing, so I'm just using the pencils. Yeah, I'm not like blending with my fingers, and I know lots of people do. So if this is your style or way, please do. But I just want to have that little like a marks from my pencil, kind of creates more arty feel. Okay, let's do just one bit like a darker feel over there before I continue in my own pace. I'm not gonna be recording that because it's not necessary. Again, this is not like tutorial about how to paint and like how to literally do it like a step by step, even though I'm showing you kind of like a step by step, but in a shorter version. It's just like to show you literally how I paint and sketch. Now I'm going to be again, and you see the directions, so I use the directions of the pencil. Again, I'm holding it further away and just softly, soft pressure on the pencil. Yeah, when I say softly, it means soft, like not so much pressure on the pencil. Yeah, kind of like just establishing the mid-tone over there. There's a mid-tone there too. Kind of like, and you see it kind of disappearing there, but I'm gonna establish a little darker value there because it's kind of dark, similar to here. So I'm just starting establishing some of the darks, and I also not having it completely flat. I know that there is like some curvature on the petals, so I am starting to establish that as well. So more kind of conscious work, more detailed work as well. And you know, I'm just like having fun with this actually, and having, for me this is like relaxing. It just feels relaxing. I know if you probably starting and something doesn't go like your way, you know, it can be a bit frustrating, but once you understand the values and what you actually have to do, you just need a bit of patience literally, and then it will feel relaxing for you as well. So you can do it literally anywhere. I was just like you know, doing this, yeah, absolutely anywhere. You can do this when you go for a tea or coffee somewhere, when you're watching a TV, when you have just like some time sitting at the kitchen table, and especially because you don't need so much materials for this. You just need pencils and your sketchbook, and obviously your either live flower, which will be the best, or you know, just some kind of picture, or even just your phone. I mean, like picture on the phone, and you can, yeah, you go for it. You don't need a massive studio for this either. So yeah, but can you see what I am doing? I'm like literally, now here is a bit like kind of like crossing. I don't really see the difference between the petal and the background, but here I'm gonna exaggerate it so I can see the petal clearly. And that's kind of your artistic thing, you know. I always like, if I don't have a clearer view on my image, then I'll just literally, I just create it, you know, I exaggerate what I see, and it's usually kind of like a better, because I know if I want this petal to be on the top of the background, it has to be, you have to differentiate in terms of values. All right, and I'm just gonna carry on going through petal to petal and looking for the lightest light, mid-tones and the darkest areas. All right, here I kind of made it a bit darker, but there are some highlights too, so I'm just gonna rub a little bit, you know, just like that, and then carry on. When I finish carry on like this, then I'll start doing the details going over, but I'll show you the next step. As you can see, I carried on with shading the rest of the flower. I left purposely this one actually kind of like untouched, because I want to add a little bit of the darker tones there and the lighter tones, so that you see me to do it properly like the rest of them. And then we can add some like a darker tones like underneath, you know, making it darker, and you can play with it. You can leave it as it is actually, you know, if you reach that stage, or you don't even really need to reach that stage. You can just be sketching the shape, and that will be fine as well. I don't want you to get so much into details if you're not into details, you know. If you're doing the challenge with me, just do what you can and just like have fun and experiment. If you're completely beginner, just trying to get the shape, and that will be just like perfect, you know. You can practice 5 10-15 minutes a day, and that's good enough. You will see improvements, that's for sure. But let's get into it. So you see, you saw me recording this, but I haven't actually done any kind of like a stage that the rest of the petals are. So let's put a little bit more kind of shading into it. Let's create a little darker tones here. Yeah, just holding the pencil quite far and it's laying down. I think this is kind of like one of the best ways how I like kind of like shading, you know. It depends really. Sometimes I like shading with the charcoal, but and so if you just put more pressure, you already have some lines, which is good because I'm gonna create some lines anyway. But again, can you see I'm using the directions, you know, the same. I'm not doing straight everything like nice and straight. Please do the directions. Honestly, it's gonna make a massive difference. It does get you know, getting used to it, so you will probably need to get used to doing it this way, but it just works. And as I said, especially if you're doing like animals, feathers, flowers, well, you know, it is important to keep it, to do it and check in. It also helps you with your observation skills, honestly, because, you know, as I see it like all the time in my classes, art is only about literally seeing and observing. So, you know, the more you actually observe with your subject, the better artist you're going to be, because you can then do the, you know, find the details that are important and paint them or draw them, and that's gonna make all the difference, especially if you're more like into realism or abstract realism, or, you know, or hyper realism as well. So I personally consider myself as like a abstract realism, so I don't want to spend usually lots of time doing I don't know, spending hours and hours just to perfect. For example, this flower can take me, I don't know, 10 hours if I want to, but no, I just I don't want you know, my artwork, especially for sketches, to take that long. I would rather be painting, but I'm doing this, as I already mentioned, because I need some sketching done for my other artwork. And it has to be my sketches, not somebody else's sketches, so I gave myself some challenge. Okay, I've been talking and not actually explaining what I'm doing, but can you see like there are darker areas, kind of like a not really necessary lines, but here then I'm using still pencil H and trying to go when there is darker area, just like darkening them up a bit somewhere. Yeah, and then now I can actually, you can see that, yeah, you can create that literally anywhere over here, for example. So if you go with the pencil, you can go like gently, and I am doing like a rotational kind of like a movement, you know, like rotating. So experiment with a bit of like a either circle movement, cross hatching, or kind of like a kind of different ways of how you can make marks, honestly. But if you're not familiar with cross hatching, just watch some YouTube videos or research on cross hatching. That will give you some lots of options. Mitigate something softer, so something B, 3B. I prefer 4B, I think, to be honest. Yeah, this is 4B, so I prefer that. And let's go into more like the darker areas here. So I'm gonna start small. I'm gonna probably hold the pencil a little bit closer here, and again a rotational movement, and gentle. I am not pressing hard, honestly. This is not me pressing hard. I am building it. Also, I am using this is a baking paper, but you can use normal paper just to avoid smudging. Yeah, that's kind of like normal. If I'm drawing certain things and I don't want smudges, I just use baking paper or normal paper, and just going for it. Pressure is very important. always, you know, when you draw in, just use light pressure. You can always pressure, do like a harder, but start with lighter pressure. Yeah, so I am building just some of the darker areas on the bottom. Now also, because this is in color, the reference image is in color, it might be helpful, especially for beginners, to maybe do it in black and white, you know. So if you work in not from like a live flowers where you know, buy them or grab them somewhere, or they grow in the garden. Well, we are in UK, I'm in UK, so at the moment we have winter, so there are no flowers. We can buy them from the shop, that's for sure. But if you're somewhere in a hot country and you have flowers, yeah, just try to draw from life. That will be perfect. But if not, you know, reference image pictures are fantastic. But black and white, you will see the tones as well. You will see more of the mid-tones, darker values, lighter values as well. Now, I'm probably gonna be not skipping, but taking 14B and go even a little darker certain areas. And again, rotation, and I'm not pressing hard. I don't want to make this like completely dark. It's just like adding extra darker layer, and it also changes the texture. It's kind of like a beautiful, you can use this as well to rub certain parts like this one, you know. Just be careful honestly with that, because, well, I'm not saying careful, you can you know, delete quite a lot of things just by tapping on that. So experiment with using the putty rubber as well. But I also wanted to show you when we want to go darker, because I do want to go darker. Still gonna work on the petal in the same way until I'm actually happy using the rubber, using different pencils, creating darker darks, mid-tones and the lighter tones. But can you see, for example, this petal sits on the top and there is a shadow like underneath, like here. So I want to create that shadow there. I want to have more shadow there. So I'm using my 14B, but still gently. I am not pressing hard, yeah. Practice that pressure of your hand. I think that if you practice actually with the pencil, it also help you then later to practice with with painting, because very often my students say, oh, you are actually painting very lightly, you know, when I'm doing dry brushing. And my students struggle with like a light, like painting very light, you know, nearly sometimes not even like a touching the surface. This is my style of painting, and I suppose that because I've got lots of practice in terms of not pressing that hard, you know, kind of like a train myself not to press that. And especially if you ever done like a pencil drawing, you know, you go softer, you go probably lighter. Anyway, that's how I learned. I mean, pencil artists will probably tell you, you know, maybe different ways to work, but that's what I know. So yeah, okay, can you see I'm having the lines because I'm doing this way. I need to kind of use the directions again. So I'm just sweeping to the directions where I actually want to have lighter. All right, and go on and I'll go on. If I want to press harder, which I want, you can see that I'm starting to press harder, circle movements, and it's already start like changing. Yeah, can you see? I hope you can see actually that it starts to change the tones, and you can see that the, you know, this flower suddenly is more like 3D looking. I want to extend this darker area here as well. So I'm just gonna draw that, create shadow also on the stalk, that's for sure, so that the whole like petal is kind of like a lifted. Here there is more shadow as well underneath, and I'm exaggerating it as well, but I want this to stand out more. Yeah, so I want to create more shadows as well. So not necessary, I mean, it's good to like follow the reference, that's for sure, because, you know, probably hard to create something looking more realistic without reference, at least for me. I'm not saying for everyone. Either, as I said, normal flower, life flower, or reference image. If you're doing it from head, well done to you. I'm also bringing these things up a little bit. Maybe combine a little bit of the background with the flower, so there is kind of like a kind of smooth transition. Yeah, it kind of creates the softer look, especially here. Because there is like a darker area, so we can go darker here as well. I don't want to go darker. I'm kind of happy with that. Again, I am not aiming for perfectionism. I'm just like exploring the values, just getting some flowers done. But for the video, probably, you know, kind of doing a little bit more than I will be doing the 30 days. I might just do some basic sketches. I don't know. I'll see. We will see, actually. I hope to see your artwork. I shall see what you're gonna do as well. Here, I want to create a little bit of shadows as well. You know, and so on and so on. So here you can see, you know, I created more shadow, but I can add some areas as well. You know, here, over here, I might create another, because there is like two petals and they nearly merge in. So let's separate them a little bit and just do like a simple kind of darken that area just behind the petal a little bit, honestly. It's not much. I'm pressing very lightly again. All right. Can you see there is already like some separation start to form, and you can see the petal now there is more like sitting on the top of that. And then I would extend this shadow up, but you see me what I am doing here. I can create, for example, another shadow like underneath there. Can you see it's quite dark there? So I'm gonna create more shadow over there, you know, and press a bit harder if you want to, you know, but kind of paying this attention. And if you get the shadows right, the flower, the petals will suddenly appear to be much more 3D. So I think I'm finished with the intro video. You see me how I work, and I am looking forward to see your work.